Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Made to Break podcast. You're joining us on episode number 83. So just want to take a moment to say thank you to everybody who has joined in this season. The numbers that we've been getting on the YouTube views have been absolutely fantastic. So thank you for your support there. And for those of you who have also listened in on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, thanks very much for all your support. We hope that you've really enjoyed the content that we've been sharing with you. So this is the final episode of this season, and we're going to do something a wee bit different. But before we get to that, make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you drop a comment whenever you've got into the content. But also, more importantly, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, subscribing is absolutely free. Doesn't cost you anything. But what it does do is it helps us with the YouTube algorithm in terms of promoting our material to people who might be interested in the content that Made to Parade makes. So you'll also know a couple of episodes back that we shared that once we get to 1,000 subscribers, which I think we're 56 away from being at the 1,000 mark, is that we're going to give away a bit of a goodie bag. So there'll be some band merchandise in there. There'll be some Made to Parade merch. And we're also teasing a wee bit of band history that you might get in this wee goodie bag. We're not going to say exactly what that is, but I definitely tell you it'll be worth getting your hands on. So if you happen to be that 1,000 subscriber, then that goodie bag will be yours. But the only way you can do that is by subscribing to the channel. So make sure you go ahead and do that. So what have we got for you on this final episode of the season? So it's a wee bit different. We're going to be doing reviews, and I have 3 products that we're going to review that are related to the band scene. You probably see one of them maybe sitting on the table here anyway, but we have the first one we're going to look at is the new recording from All My Protestant Boys called Scottish Emblem. We have the brand new set of flutes from Kirky P. We're going to give those a wee bit of a blast, literally. And then we also have the brand new recording from the regimental band of the Ulster Volunteer Force, 4 Nations, 1 Crown. I'm going to be talking a wee bit about that. So lots for us to get into, and hopefully you don't mind listening to my voice drone on for maybe 25 minutes or so talking about these things. So folks, sit back, relax, and enjoy this latest episode of the Made to Parade podcast. Alrighty, folks, so as I've already kind of outlined, we're going to be reviewing a number of products. But before I actually get into that, I just want to put a wee bit of a disclaimer here. All right, this is my personal opinion. All right, so this is not meant to be overly critical or to be feeling like I'm coming down hard on anything. I know that we can get very sensitive about the things that we've created, and that's something that I'm, well aware of. If there's no one who's more critical of what I create than myself, I have to say, I'm always going back over episodes thinking it could have been done better, or, things that I've done and going, listen, I would have done this differently, etc. You know what I mean? So anything that I say here that's constructive is not meant to be a put down in any sense. It's just my personal opinion on what I've, come away with from listening and playing on these particular products. So don't kill me in the comments, please. All right. So what we're going to do is with the recordings anyway, we're going to sort of review them in a particular order. The first thing we're going to look at is the presentation. So that's the first thing I'll look at. The second thing that I'll do is the production. So what does it actually sound like? I'll also then talk about performance in terms of what I'm hearing coming from the recording itself, and I'll also be talking about the playlist. What's the tune set up there? What's the variety like in terms of what you're getting on the recordings? For the flute, it'll be something different. It'll be around the build quality in terms of the tone that you can get from it, and also the pricing and value for money, and does it actually blend in with other flutes. All right, so that's what we're going to be looking at when we're looking at these products. Okay, so just wanted to get that out there at the very offset, just to kind of, just get that set in stone before we do anything. Alrighty, so the first product that we're going to look at is the All My Protestant Boys recording called Scottish Emblem. All right, so you'll see whenever we look at this that it's a wee bit different from what you might imagine, because obviously bands are now moving away from CDs, etc., and a lot of bands are moving towards the idea of the actual USB pens, all right? And the Oma Protestant boys have done this. But I have to say, from this setup, it looks really, really well. So you can see just from this, the plastic box that's on here, that actually has a wee bit of a throwback to the tapes of old. So you can see that you've got your front cover with the band's name and the name of the album on it. And then also on the back here, you have some of the tracks that are included on this recording as well. All right, so from that initial perspective, it looks a wee bit different too. So what's on the inside of it then? Okay, so when we open it up, you'll see that we have the printed material is there. So the front and back just sits in there like that. We also then have the pen drive. All right, so I'll put this on the close-up in a wee second or so, but the pen drive is actually shaped like a guitar. All right, which is a nice touch in regards to the fact that it is musically themed and stuff. I think for me, the pernickety person in me would be saying, would it have been great if it had been shaped like a flute? Now, there may be a business idea for someone to create, a pen drive that has something of a resemblance to a flute. But what we have is this guitar, and it comes off at the bottom, and it's a magnetized connection at the bottom of this here. You'll see it's there, and it just snaps back in, which I think again is a really nice touch as well. So there you go. From a presentation point of view, looks good. Now, my only concern about the actual USB aspect of this here is, I suppose, the width of this bit here. And what I found was that whenever I put this into my laptop, that it actually went over another USB port. So if you were planning on having this in your computer, in terms of what side your USB port's on, you might just want to think about while you have anything else connected to it. That was one of my other gripes. The other one was whenever I tried to put this into my car, it didn't seem to connect properly. This was actually connected with the fascia on my car, and the drive actually didn't appear on the screen or anything like that. But that's a minor issue, because for me, what I'm really going to be doing with this is putting it onto the computer, making sure that all of the tunes are then copied into my library, and then they appear on Apple Music, so that I don't necessarily need to be carrying this around with me, which I suspect a lot of people will also be doing as well. So from a presentation point of view, I think this is top class. I think it looks extremely well. It's professionally done, and you wouldn't be disappointed picking this up. And the other thing I think that's great about this is, because of the case and the size of the USB pen and the shape of it, you're not going to lose this. You know, I've lost God knows how many pen drives over the years, but this here is definitely not going to lose. So 10 out of 10 there for presentation. All right, so we're moving on now to talk a wee bit about production. What do I mean about production? So for me, it's the overall sound. So how does this come across? You know, what way is it mixed? How's it mastered? How does it actually sit in a couple of different settings? So for me, I've listened to this recording a couple of times. I've listened to it on my laptop speakers. I've listened to it with a pair of noise cancelling headphones, and I've also listened to it in the car as well. So I was able to Bluetooth this across from my phone into the car. I have to say, it comes across pretty well through it. I think it's well mixed. For the most part, it's also pretty well balanced too. There are a couple of things in there that, think, could this maybe have been changed? But again, as I say, this is my personal opinion. I think sometimes in the single 40s, the drums sound a wee bit on the muddy side, but that rectifies itself whenever the double 40s come in, and you can really tell, the quality of the drumming that's taking place in the tunes when you're in that style of playing. For me, the flute playing, Oba are a good flute playing band, and that does come across in this recording. So the firsts, the seconds, and the eighth parts, really come across. You can pick them out, nice and clearly. And the piccolo also stands out well too. So it's well mixed. There are a couple of places where I think for me, maybe there's some tuning issues that happen along the way, but that happens whenever you're recording flutes in any shape or form. Sometimes you'll get a bit of that. So I know that can be difficult to kind of capture a perfect sound. And I don't think there's anybody who's released an album that's captured a perfect flute band sound. So I think it's important to note that, but what it does do is it actually gives you the sense of what this band sounds like on the road. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that you can capture on any recording of a band is, does this give you a sense, or does this potentially sound like what this band is on the road? Because that's what we are. We're marching bands. We're made to march on the road. So sitting in a studio or sitting in a room with microphones is kind of an unnatural kind of place for a marching band to be to some degree. But for me, you do get a sense of what this band sounds like on the road. That's from the bass drum sound, everything mixed in together. You know this is the Omagh Protestant Boys. So from a production point of view, this is pretty good. All right, so the other area that I was going to talk about was a performance. I kind of covered that a wee bit in this sense of talking about the production, but just to reiterate, you can tell in terms of the style of playing and the competency of the playing that this is a well-versed band. All right, so that comes across in this recording from the piccolo parts, the F parts being really clear, the parts in terms of first, second, B flat, you can pick them all out. All the articulation and intonation throughout this is pretty solid throughout. So in terms of performance, it's probably what you'd expect to get from Omagh Protestant Boys, is a good, solid performance from a really good marching band. All right, so that's in terms of performance, which then leads me on to the playlist, because ultimately that's what this is all about. What is the playlist like? What are the tunes that are available on this particular recording? And I have to say, it's quite varied. Now, for Omagh being a melody band, you imagine that there is quite a number of marches on here. Some of my favourite marches are actually on this here as well. So Household Brigade, an absolutely fantastic tune to march to, is on here. White Chateau, I absolutely love White Chateau. The parts on that are absolutely fantastic, and that's covered really well here. So a lot of good marches on here, and some probably tunes that you may not be aware of as well. So really varied and something for everyone. So the kickoff tune, Scottish Emblem, I'd never heard this before. I have to say, it's a really good tune. And then the second tune is Uncle Sam, which is obviously American-inspired pieces as well. You also have a couple of performance pieces in there. You have the Sleeping Warrior is on there, and you also have World in Union. So those kind of sit-down performances are on here as well. And then obviously you have, some of your more traditional stuff like Tipperary, Pack Up Your Troubles, The Inevitable Sash and Derry's Walls is all there as well. Mud Cabin, and obviously the theme tune for Made the Parade, Road to the Edge is on here as well. So all very good in regards to that. So there are 17 tracks in total on this here, so it's pushing in at around just over the 40-minute mark or so in regards to playing time. And I think that's good value in terms of that. So I believe this is a tenner. I could be wrong there because I was gifted this at the Predator Ravens indoor competition, but I think a tenner for that is solid in terms of the pricing for the range of tunes that you get there. So as I say, something for everyone, and even a version of the Rakes that's been arranged by a friend of the podcast, Laurie Johnston. And, so something there for everyone. Children's Love, The Adjutant, On the Quarterdeck, as I say, some Flying Eagle, another brilliant march, Flying Eagle. And, if you're into the style of music, you're into the melody flute bands, you can't go wrong with the actual playlist that's available to you on this recording. So solid in terms of playlist. All right, so that brings me down to the whole idea of the overall score for this project. Now, it's a solid set of tunes, good playlist, it's well packaged, it's produced pretty well, and the performance is pretty good on there as well. So, for me, I'm giving us a score of 7.5 out of 10. Now, don't call me psychic, but there's probably a few eyebrows have been raised there, just maybe in regards to that. So just trying to put this into perspective, I'm judging this against some other recordings that I would hold in high esteem. One of those being William King's Death or Glory, and also Black Skull's Prince of the Realm. For me, those are two of the best melody recordings, not without their issues in terms of that there, because I know for me, as much as I love that William King recording, the drum sound could be better on that there, but in terms of the flute playing, for me, it's hard to beat. So you might say, Glenn, that's unfair. They're different bands, etc. And I get that. But that's just my thoughts off it. Don't get me wrong. This is a great project. This is a great album. I have listened to it numerous times and I have absolutely enjoyed the tunes on there. You know, it's, as I say, great selection of tunes. Toe tappers, great marches, great set of traditional stuff on there, and some performance pieces that don't, you know, take away from the fact that this is a marching band, and the fact that it does sound like this band on the street, for me, is a really, you know, a massive positive thing for this as a project. But for me, yes, it's a solid 7.5 out of 10 for Scottish Emblem by the Oma Protestant Boys. And the other recommendation is go and get it. You won't be disappointed. This has got something for everybody. This project is good, and it definitely deserves to be in your flute band collection. So there you go. Oma Protestant Boys, Scottish Emblem, 7.5 out of 10. Great project. Well done to the band, and I hope you get all the support you deserve for this recording. It's great to see bands still putting stuff out. So well done, Oma Protestant Boys. Alrighty, folks, so we're going to move on to the next product that we're reviewing, and it is this lovely thing here. It is the brand new flute from Kirky P Flutes. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Kirky P is Kirk Patton, and Kirk is the guy behind NI Band Services. He's also a member of Portavogie band as well, and has created these flutes as an affordable and a value and quality option for the bands. Here, I know whenever you're looking for new instruments these days that price and value is an important factor, because, you know, trying to buy a set of flutes these days is extremely expensive, and the prices obviously just seem to keep going up and up. And these flutes were created to try and bridge the gap that exists there. You'll also probably be thinking, whenever you look at this straight away, you'll probably be thinking of another brand of flute. That's right, you're probably thinking of the Cliffy Rays, aren't you? And it does have a bit of a resemblance to that, doesn't it? You know, with the chrome body, the black head here. It turns out it kind of looks like that. And also, for me, the name, Cliffy Ray, Kirky P. You see what he did there? All right, so for me, and I think that's good, because, you know, it's by brand recognition, isn't it? And people can make those connections. So for me, you know, that's it's an interesting name for Kirky P. Whenever I first seen it, I thought it was Quirky P. Sorry, Kirk, but that's the and the other thing I initially kind of threw me a wee bit was the head joint, in terms of the fact that the actual embouchure here, if I don't know why you can see that there while I move the table. It's actually there lower, whereas on a Cliffy Ray, it's actually on a raised lip plate. Okay, so in terms of that, this is a prototype. All right, so this isn't the final product as far as I am aware, but this is a really solidly built instrument. It's weighty enough. It's not that heavy in the hand in regards to what you would be carrying around. There is a bit of weight to it, and obviously the chrome element gives it that. And the keys there. This is the 5 key model, and for me, yeah, there's a bit of stiffness in the keys, but again, that's just down to the fact that this is a prototype model. But I think it looks well. I think the head joint, etc., looks a bit different. Nice to see somebody innovating in regards to the design of the flute. So in regards to that, I believe the pricing on these for single units and orders below 10 is around £200. That's not bad. When you consider that the Cliffy Ray itself is what, 215, I believe. And then when you move into the idea of Miller Wick's flutes, 300 up, and also Pete Worrell's flutes in terms of that there, you're talking £300 a piece up on that there, easy for those. I think that puts it in that value for money section. So first glance, this looks like a quality instrument, and but that's not what you really are always looking for. There's a number of factors that you need to be thinking about. One is the build quality, but most importantly, because it is a musical instrument, is the actual sound. What does this flute actually sound like, and would it actually blend in with flutes that you already have? Okay, so that'll be coming up in the next section. There you go. That's what it sounds like. And I have to say, that's, pretty decent in terms of the sound there. I wasn't even really trying much there. There's good volume from this. And the other thing that I have to say, though, is you'll see that I've a Miller Wick here with me as well. Now, earlier on, what we did is we tested this out alongside the Miller Wick. And you would be surprised at how well this actually blends in with the Miller Wick. I think the only issue we had whenever we were testing the two alongside each other was the top E, but that was to do with the D key. The D key here, as I say, is a wee bit on the stiff side. I know that whenever they get into production, that won't be the case. And it was just that it needed to be really pressed down in order to make sure that you got a solid note. But whenever you kind of compensate for that in your playing, there really isn't that much of a difference when you go up into those higher registers. And I think that's maybe something that the Cliffy Rays do, is whenever they move up into that higher register, that they kind of, maybe go off a wee bit in terms of maybe a wee semitone there. But this is pretty solid in terms of the tuning. And in terms of ease of play, I mean, this is really a pick up and go type of flute. It really doesn't have any major issues in regards to that. I thought whenever I seen this plate here, with it, instead of it being raised and it being dipped, that would cause me some problems. And it hasn't. And a few other people that have played these as well have said the exact same thing, that they found it very straightforward, easy to play, good flow from the flute, and also just really good volume. So from that perspective, this is a solid instrument to even introduce if you were playing alongside your band, or you were, looking at potentially either changing or even giving really decent flutes to learners. This wouldn't be a bad shoot in regards to that, because I know whenever I learned, I was never given a decent instrument. I was given what I call a hybrid, a wee bit of this and a wee bit of that was put together to make a flute, and the keys were held on with elastic bands and stuff. And if you could get a note out of it, you were doing well. You know what I mean? With this here is a pretty solid instrument to have there. And I know that having played it indoors and then played it outdoors, it does sing outside. It really does. It comes into its own when it's out in the open air. And I think he's created a really solid instrument here. So well done to Kirk down at NI Bond Services for, having the courage of his convictions to go out and try and create a brand new instrument that would meet some of the needs that are there within the band scene. So as I say, £200 I think is for the 5 key flute. I think it's he's also going to offer a discount of a £10 if you order over 10 of these or over 15 of these. He'll reduce it by £10. So that's £190 a flute, which isn't, again, isn't bad when you consider what else is out there on the market. And I believe the 2-key version is 170, and I think he will also apply the same discount for people who order over 10 or over 15 of those. He'll actually take £10 off that as well. Now, I know there are plans for other versions of this. They don't exist at the minute. I think there's plans for a polymer version, and I also think he has plans for a wood version, an African blackwood version of this too. No idea what the price range might be on those, but I would be extremely interested in getting my hands on those, and given what I've experienced with this. So where does it rate? Now, it's not a Miller Wick, all right. So let's get that out there, and it's not trying to be a Miller Wick flute. It's not trying to be a Worrell flute. It's trying to be as good a budget flute as it possibly can be, and I think he's done the job with that. I think he has really done the job with that, and I know, having spoken to him, he's really passionate about this as a project, really passionate about putting quality, affordable instruments in the hands of the band scene. I think that this is definitely a step in that direction. Sort out those keys, those wee sticky keys, etc., whatever on that there, and you'll have an absolutely fantastic instrument to play along with. If you have one of these, or if you've tested one of these, get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your thoughts have been on that there. Give us your honest opinions on the Kirky P flute. But for me, he has created a solid instrument, and for me, that's an 8 out of 10 for that there. So well done, Kirky. Good job. Okay, so that brings us on to our final product tonight, and that is 4 Nations, 1 Crown by the Regimental Band of the Ulster Volunteer Force. Now, you'll already see just by me showing you that in the camera there, that this has quite a different look to it. And I have to say that a really classy look to this. This is it's like a wooden box with the band's crest embossed on the front of it. Really nice feel to that there. And then when you open it up, I don't know why you'll be able to see this as I put this towards the camera, it has the name of the album embossed on the inside there as well. So you'll see that 4 Nations, 1 Crown in there. And then the actual pen drive itself as well, let me just get that out, also has the band's crest embossed on that as well. Chances are you might just about see that there in the camera. Absolutely top class. From a presentation point of view, this is up there with the best type of USB presentation I've ever seen for any type of recording. This is exactly what you'd expect from the Regimental Band. I mean, attention to detail in every aspect, and it looks absolutely amazing. And I know a lot of people have been talking about this online, just about what, the one with the wee wooden box. You know, it's so much more than that there. It's absolutely class. Again, magnetized in terms of this bit here. I'll just put this across like that so you can see it comes across, and then it just magnetizes in there, which is nice. Means you're never going to lose that particular aspect of that too. And also the case here is also magnetized too. So all very, very good in regards to the presentation aspect there. So top marks. That's for me, again, like the Oma thing, that's a different setup as well. It's a solid 10 out of 10 for presentation. You just can't beat that. Absolutely first class. All right, so one of the things that I didn't mention about this was about the USB aspect of it itself. And a bit like the Oma product that we reviewed at the start of this episode, for me, the connection at the top of this is quite wide in regards to the bit that's surrounding the USB on this. And again, if you're plugging this into a computer, you're not going to get anything else. If your ports are pretty close together, you're not going to get anything else in beside this. All right, so just be mindful of that. Again, if you have a tower computer with USB ports on the front, you know, it'll go in there fine. But if they're side by side, just the width of this could potentially have an impact on you getting anything else in there. The other thing is, in regards to this, for some strange reason, Unlike the Uber USB, I had no problems with this connecting to my car. It went in, there was no problem. The system recognized it without any issues. But again, I have to point out that's not how I'm using these. You know, I'm putting these onto my computer to make sure that they're on my phone, and then I connect my phone via Bluetooth to the car so that I can make sure that I listen to them. So for me, it's something just to be mindful of whenever you do buy this. So just look out for that. All right. So let's move on then. And let's talk about production. So again, as we talked about production in regards to OBA, you know, it's about the overall sound. And I have to say, the production on this is out of this world. It is absolutely fantastic. Um, Everything sounds as it should. The drums are, you know, are really, really clear. For me, maybe a wee bit more treble could have been used on them, but they stand out perfectly in terms of the mix. And the other thing that really stands is the flutes are really well mixed as well. From the firsts, the seconds, the Fs, and the piccolo, everything is clearly identifiable. It sounds so well. And then there's other ranges of percussion that are used, other percussion instruments that are used throughout this recording, and you can tell exactly what they are from your listening there. And I think that is a credit to whoever recorded this, and whoever did the mastering on this here has done an absolutely fantastic job with this. The other thing that is great about this here is a really tasteful use of reverb. On some flute band recordings, reverb is overused, and I know why that is. It's to kind of give it that sense that the flutes are singing and giving a wee bit of, but sometimes it's just you. It's some of these recordings are dripping in reverb, and it absolutely spoils the recording. I have to say that's not the case with this production on this here. As I say, this is up there with the best recordings that I have heard. Just from the production point, not just from the production point of view, but as you'll find out as we go on and talking about the performance and the playlist from that aspect as well, but also the concept behind this album as well. This is a first-class piece of marching band music and marching band merchandise. This has got to be in your collection, folks. So let's move on to the performance. Now, as we say, if we said that the presentation aspect is what you would expect from the regimental, the performance is exactly that as well. My first listen to this, in terms of first impressions, I was absolutely blown away. Now, it shouldn't have been a surprise, to be honest with you, because, you know, when you listen to this band on the road, they're top class, all right? This here, and I'm using this slightly, this is a bit of a masterpiece in regards to the playing on this, and also the arrangements on this here. So if it was whoever was involved in arrangements, I suspect Junior, Robert Catney, and the guys who are in the drum corps looking after the arrangements on this here, this is absolutely outstanding, right? From the introductions to the segues between tunes, etc. This is so well thought out. It's unreal. I mean, the amount of time that they must have spent putting into the arrangements on this here is mind blowing, because there's some of the bits in this here that actually made me laugh, not because of how it was being played, but just because of how they ended up making those connections between how the tune started, where it went to in the medleys, and how they mixed those things in, and the range of parts being played. Good grief. Some of the F parts on this here are out of this world. I mean, folks, I don't know what else to say about that, but in terms of the performance on this here, you're not going to be disappointed in the slightest. There really is something there for everybody. I know I said that about the other one, but this here is just out of this world. Absolutely fantastic. First class performance from the band. And I think that comes from, yes, their attention to detail in regards to that, their arrangements and everything, but also the fact that it has a theme. This idea of 4 nations, 1 crown really resonates with me. The fact that, you know, there's, in terms of the political aspect, a lot of people would look to see and have Northern Ireland removed from the whole idea of the United Kingdom thing and saying that we're not really a part of it. But the title of this kind of reiterates the fact that there are 4 nations and 1 crown, and that we're connected to that. And the concept of that, I believe, came from the king's coronation and some of the things in relation to what happened whenever the late queen passed away as well. And what they tried to do, I believe, was they tried to capture the sound of a military band, a brass band, and translate that into a flute band. I think they've done it. I really do. I think they've done it. It's rare that that actually happens. I think with the range of parts and the tunes that they've put on there, they've done it. It sounds like a military unit. It really does. So what you have here is whenever you put this into your disc, you could be disappointed initially and go, what? 8 tracks? Is that it? But what a collection of 8 tracks. Now, the whole recording itself comes in around about 30-minute mark. All right. But what you have is an introduction. You've got some bugle introduction there. And then you have an Irish medley. You have a Welsh medley, a Scottish medley, and an English melody, and tunes that you would connect to each of those nations are there. And the blend is absolutely fantastic. It really is. Some of the tunes that they've used are there in their, what you would have to say, their original format. Like, for instance, the Irish medley, has The Hat My Father Wore, which is obviously a tip of the hat to the South. I think the fact that they've even just called it that in regards to where it's placed within that particular medley is ridiculous. Spots on Hill and stuff, all there, guys, you're going to love that. The Scottish melody as well, you know, is in there. You'd expect certain tunes to be on there, Auld Lang Syne, etc., all on there as well. In regards to, you know, the concept and stuff on that there, it's fantastic. The performance on this here is unreal, you know. And I think even one of the things that really got me was the start of the Scottish medley. The way those F flutes are playing at the start of this medley is just out of this world. I know I've used that phrase a number of times on this already, but it is. At first listen, when I was listening to this for the first time, I had to do a bit of a double take because I was like going, is that concert flutes? The tone from those F flutes is absolutely amazing. And then during that, when it kind of kicks into some of the jigs and stuff on there, I actually at one point felt, can I hear feet stomping in the background? But when I listened to it closer, actually it was a high tension drum that was being used in the background. But it just gives you that feel of being in the room with the band or walking alongside them and just getting a sense of who they are as a band. I think they've excelled themselves with this. I really do. I can't praise this recording high enough. I think, you know, it's right up there for me. I think this is probably in my top 3 recordings. You know, it's up there with Death or Glory by the William King. It's up there with Prince of the Realm by Black Skull. This is in that category. This is elite marching band material, guys. I mean, you need to get your hands on this. You know, you really do need to have this in your collection and stuff. And it's not melody flute. It's not melody flute. It's something other than that. It's the whole idea of a core of 5 and drums. That's what this is. This is, I think, as the band would say, it's music to get you from A to B, and that's exactly what you get here. The whole lot from start to finish is absolutely fantastic. For a tenner, you can't go far wrong with this. This needs to be in your collection. For me, this is a 9 out of 10. Top class. Alrighty, folks, so that brings us to the end of not just this episode, but this season of the Made to Parade podcast. And I think a very fitting way to end the season talking about some great resources that are available to the band scene here in Northern Ireland. From the Old Protestant Boys recording, if you're in a traditional kind of melody setting or just love bands in general, there's lots to get excited about there. From the Kirky P Flute. Again, if you're looking to either add your collection or your bands maybe thinking about changing your flutes, get in touch with Kirk NI Band Services. I'm sure you'd be only too happy to either get you a test model to try out and work with you on getting an order. They're definitely well worth looking into. For me, what has to be the star of the show is the recording by the regimental band of the Ulster Volunteer Force, 4 Nations, 1 Crown. What can I say, folks? This is absolutely a fantastic piece of music. Marching band music, not just marching band music from here in Northern Ireland. I think that particular recording stands up against anything else that exists out there in regards to what we consider to be regimental or military style music. That is a top class recording. So lots for you to get involved. So give these people your support, get in touch with them via the socials, buy yourself a copy of those recordings. And as I say, if you're a band that's looking for some flutes, get in touch with Kirk at NI Band Services. I'm sure he'd only be too happy to kind of help you out there. So there we go. So what a nice way to end the season on in terms of reviewing some products and creative products from within the scene. Make sure you join us on the next season, which will probably be coming out around the end of August, start of September. We've got some great things lined up. There'll be a continuation of tunes that change the scene. There'll also be more reviews. There'll be a couple of museum visits, I believe. Hopefully, the live podcast will get rescheduled as well, folks. So there's lots and lots for us to look forward to with Made to Parade in the future. Thank you so much for getting back involved with us. Obviously we took an extended break. It's great to see all of the support for the podcast there. Great to hear all of the comments. Great for all the encouragement that's coming in, not just for myself, but for the team, Brian and Lynn, who have been helping us out in behind the scenes. That's as much as important as what happens in front of the cameras is what goes on behind the cameras. So I'm really thankful to both Brian and Lynn for their contribution to this season of Made to Parade. It's really given me a sense of excitement about being back involved with it again. They've been absolutely infectious in regards to their own enthusiasm for the project as well. So thank you very much to them. So until the next time, folks, look after yourselves and take it easy.